Hello, welcome to Old Virginia Homes. Old houses are so visually intriguing. The varied architecture and decor transports us back to another time. But these houses also set the stage for the different stories of America as experienced by the families who have made these places home. And the one we'll be visiting today takes us from the Revolution to slavery to Civil War bloodshed to Prohibition to labor unions. Starting with the well-known Lee family of 18th and 19th century Virginia and ending with John Lewis, president of the United Mine Workers in the 20th century, we'll go on a whirlwind Cliff's Notes tour of United States history as we visit the Lee-Fendall House, an old Virginia home in Alexandria. Let's go. Built in 1785 by Philip Fendall, in those fragile first years of our new nation, the Lee-Fendall House is rather unique architecturally in Alexandria because of its telescopic design, much more common in Maryland than in Northern Virginia. The land was originally owned by Revolutionary War hero Henry Lighthorse Harry Lee, father of Robert E. Lee. Lee sold the lot to his cousin Philip Fendall. Fendall was secretary to his friend George Washington's Potomac Company and also first president of the Bank of Alexandria. George and Martha dined with Fendall and his wife, Elizabeth Steptoe Lee-Fendall, often, and vice versa. The Fendalls were frequent guests at Mount Vernon. The house sits on a corner of Alexandria at the intersection of North Washington and Orinoco Street, known as Lee Corner because the Lee family owned almost every property here. Although the telescopic design of the Lee-Fendall house was not typical in Alexandria, the 18th century urban domestic complex setup was. A 1796 Mutual Assurance Society declaration, an insurance policy, includes the house with its kitchen wing, servants' hall, and 6 framed outbuildings on the property, including an office, a dwelling, a pigeon house, a rabbit house, another building, and a stable. And at that time, the property was valued at $11,500. The outbuilding listed as a dwelling probably would have housed some of the approximately 15 enslaved workers on Fendall's property. The main block of the 2-story, 3-bay house was a common townhouse plan for the period, a side hall with 2 principal chambers opening onto the hall. The first floor reflects the long residency of the Lee family, a prominent Virginia dynasty. Generations of the Lee family lived here, 37 Lee family members over more than a century, witnessing the rise of the early republic, the War of 1812, and the mounting tensions that would ultimately divide the nation. Philip Fendall was married 3 times, and all 3 of his wives were members of the Lee family. Fendall's first wife was his cousin, Sarah Lettice Lee. After her death, he married another cousin, Elizabeth Steptoe Lee. She had also been widowed, and her first husband's name was also Philip Ludwell Lee of Stratford Hall. And it was while Fendall was married to Elizabeth that he built this house. Unfortunately, Elizabeth didn't get to live in the house for long. She died unexpectedly in 1789. 2 years later, Fendall married Mary Lee, who was 30 years younger than he, and was the sister of Lighthorse Harry Lee. Mary and Philip Fendall had 2 children, Lucy and Philip II. Philip Fendall's prosperity did not last. He was forced to deed the house over to Richard Bland Lee, Harry's younger brother, in 1792. After Fendall's death in 1805, Mary continued to live in the house with her 2 children. But by 1825, Mary, who was also referred to as Molly, was destitute and moved into a rooming house in Washington. After Mary's death in 1827, Edmund Jennings Lee bought the house at auction. The house passed into ownership of other Lee family members throughout the first half of the 19th century. And then in 1850, Louis Anthony Cazenove, a successful merchant, purchased the house for his new bride, Harriet. But technically, the house was still in the Lee family, as Harriet was the great-granddaughter of Richard Henry Lee, the signer of the Declaration of Independence. The Cazenoves saw the house as worn out and dated, and began a renovation that would modernize the 1785 structure to a home that would be fitting for a contemporary 1850s family, updating the home architecturally, aesthetically, and technologically. They added Greek Revival and Italianate embellishments. They also added third-floor living space with windows to the main section and enlarged the first-floor windows. They added the first heating, plumbing, and servant bell systems in the home and removed some outbuildings to create extensive landscaping and gardens with a greenhouse. After Louis Cazenove died in 1852, Harriet was left to take care of her late husband's 2 daughters from a previous marriage, her own infant son, and the large house. She chose to move her family into a smaller country home and then leased the Lee-Fendall House to another family. Then came war. In 1863, the Union Army seized the rebel house for unpaid taxes. It was conveniently located opposite Grosvenor Hospital, and they wanted to use the house as another medical building. Supposedly, they offered to return ownership and pay rent if Harriet Cazenove would swear an oath of loyalty to the federal government. Harriet refused. The house was subsequently turned into an annex of the hospital. This home, which was once a comfortable residence, was stripped of its warmth and charm. These sweet bedrooms would no longer hold fine furniture, feminine accessories, decorative items and artwork, children's toys. The elegant home would become a place where soldiers struggled for survival. Rooms were filled with rows of beds, with men recovering from battlefield injuries. The atmosphere would weigh heavy with the sounds of pain. A new outbuilding would be added, a so-called dead house, a morgue to hold the bodies until they could be properly buried. Remarkably, it was also here that one of the earliest recorded successful blood transfusions in the United States is said to have taken place. After the war, the home was purchased by Dr. Robert Fleming, who had married a member of the, you guessed it, Lee family, Mary Elizabeth Lee. However, it was after their deaths that the home would be sold out of the Lee family. In 1902, Robert Forsyth Downham bought the house for $5,500. Downham was a prominent Alexandria liquor purveyor, a business that provided well for his family as they lived in the Lee-Fendall House for the next 31 years. Then came Prohibition, and he became a haberdasher. Not quite as lucrative, Downham decided to downsize. In 1937, the Downham family sold the house to Myrta Lewis. She was the wife of John L. Lewis, president of the United Mine Workers. It's thought that the couple decided to put the house in her name as a way of protecting it from any lawsuits against her husband. John Lewis left school in 7th grade and began working in a coal mine at age 15. Despite his lack of education, he clearly had leadership skills and used these to excel. Powerful and controversial, Lewis became president of the United Mine Workers of America and founded and became the first president of the Congress of Industrial Organizations, the CIO, when he left the American Federation of Labor, the AFL, over a disagreement about membership limitations. These organizations later merged and are now known as the AFL-CIO. After Lewis died in 1969, the future of the Lee-Fendall House was threatened to be demolished until the Virginia Trust for Historic Preservation purchased it and opened it as a house museum in 1974. Today you can visit the museum and enjoy a guided tour which offers more insight into the Fendalls, the Lees, and the enslaved residents who lived there. There are also interesting rotating exhibits. When I visited, there was an exhibit about the American women's suffrage movement. These exhibits provide even more context into Alexandria's past as related to the broader historic happenings in America. Thank you for visiting the Lee-Fendall House and Gardens with me today. An old Virginia home.